Is this a true representation of blanket training?
I know that there was a particular style of child training called blanket training.
You put the kid on a blanket, probably 6-month-old, and you put something they want just outside of reach off the blanket, and when they go to reach for it, you hit them. And if they continue to reach for it, you hit them again. The idea is you're breaking the rebellious spirit they are born with.
Context matters in all things. This is a great example of how describing something in a certain way to purposefully make it look like an evil plot can completely skew and misrepresent it. In Shiny Happy People, they characterized blanket training as plopping a baby on a blanket and then hitting them when they innocently reach for a toy. That is completely misrepresenting what it is and what it is about. Here's another example of how this misrepresentation of blanket training is spreading on the internet.
It does look very sweet and happy and, oh, their family is so well behaved. And then when you learn why they're well behaved, it's really dark. Michelle was talking about how she did blanket training with her up to infants, where you would put them on a blanket and then you would put their favorite toys on the outside of the blanket. And when they go to reach for it, you would smack their hand until they realized, oh, I can't make any decisions without your approval. And oh my gosh, my heart was just breaking. I almost burst into tears just thinking about this poor baby. I mean, we're talking about babies that they're doing this with.
If this is what blanket training really was, that would be abusive and a horrid thing to do. And if that were what blanket training was like, I would be completely with the critics of it. But that's not the way I have ever seen it done. And if you listen to the way Michelle Duggar describes her blanket training time, does it sound like she's being deviant, angry, and mean to her child?
So blanket training was also covered in Michelle Duggar's book.
I would focus on blanket training, calling out, "Okay, boys, it's blanket time. Oh, isn't this fun? Come pick a toy so we can have blanket time. We're gonna practice obey mama. Sit really still and look at me with big old smile. I wanna see that smile now. No wiggles, be still." In a little basket, I collected some special things I knew the twins would love to play with. Then, when I cheerfully announced it was blanket time, I let each boy pick one toy from the basket. This was some appealing toy or puzzle they got to play with only during blanket time. At first, my goal was simply to have them sit on their blankets and play with their toy for 5 minutes. If they made a loud noise or tried to crawl off the blanket, I would correct them. "Oh, no, no, no. We don't get off the blanket during blanket time. This is blanket time and we're learning to have fun while we sit quietly on our blanket." Parents have to decide what type of correction works best with their children, depending on their own personal parenting philosophy. Whatever it is, should be momentarily unpleasant. I didn't raise my voice, but with each correction, I became sterner, less playful. And when the 5 minutes were up, we celebrated with lots of hugs and kisses, maybe marching around the room and burning off some of that saved-up energy. I praised them excitedly, and they strutted around as thrilled by their accomplishment as if they'd won an Olympic gold medal.
Blanket training can be a fun time for the child when it is done properly, and it helps the child learn to play contentedly by themselves for a certain period of time, teaches them boundaries, and eventually allows them to enjoy the idea that they can control themselves, which gives them a general demeanor of contentment. There are also different ways to do blanket training, and it can be done differently with different ages. For example, here's a woman who did a video about doing it with her preschool-aged little girl, and you can see her attitude is not what was described in Shiny Happy People at all.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, stay on your blanket. I'll open it for you. Want me to open it for you? Stay on your blanket. Layla, no, you gotta stay here. Stay on your blanket for a little bit longer. You're doing such a good job at blanket time. Oh, eat the cake, yummy. Layla. She made it 12 minutes. I'm so proud of her. So I'm gonna let her get off now because she seems to be getting a little restless. But I definitely want to keep telling her how great she did at blanket time. And I keep saying things like, oh no, we stay on the blanket during blanket time. And just really emphasizing blanket time. I'm so proud of you.
I have 2 videos on blanket training on my parenting YouTube channel, The Mommy Answer Lady. The first one describes exactly how it is done and what its benefits are for training a young baby how to stay on the blanket with fun toys they get to play with just during blanket time. You do not ever hit a baby under any circumstances, and you don't just plop a baby on the blanket and start hitting them when they reach for a toy. Blanket training is just another example of the purposeful misrepresentations of the Duggar family and their mode of child training with the ultimate goal of slandering Christians and homeschoolers generally. Next time, did Jim Bob Duggar really deprive his children of any benefits from their participation in their successful TV show?
We have Jill Duggar, who is saying she never made a dime, that she even had to, at one point, rely on food banks to help feed her family.
So up until around the time we left the show, we hadn't been paid for anything.
You will be shocked at the real story behind all this. We'll talk about that next time. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe.